pleasant good evening. It's Thursday, the 15th day of January in the year 2014. This is the live edition of Late Night with Chris and Annette. And of course, on behalf of my colleague and friend Anne Ferguson, we'd like to welcome you to tonight's program. And tonight's program will be one with a difference. We note several persons were giving us feedback requesting that we open the phone lines to permit you an opportunity to make a comment or ask any question that you have. So, just before the program ends, we will open the phone lines. The operators will put the numbers up on the screen. And of course, we want to hear from you. But of course, like regular program, we have topics that we want to touch on that is of interest to you, that affects you directly and indirectly. And at Ferguson, good night. Welcome to Late Night.
Oh, pleasant evening to you, Chris.
Like
Chris
you, sure.
Jones. Thank you very much. You know, I'm different this evening. And to you wonderful viewers there in TV land, a blessed evening to you. And I trust that, you would enjoy what we have to impart to you this evening. So that's just my opening statement, Chris.
All right. Well, Annette, just to continue the line, the Partnership for National Unity outreach exercise to various parts of the country continues. And of course, just this afternoon, we were in Section K, Campbellville. Quick announcement. Tomorrow afternoon at the Stabrook Market Square, there will be a public meeting. And of course, we extended an invitation to you to be part of that public meeting. Looking further afield, region, let's go to Region 9 first. Delegation of which my colleague here will be part of, will be heading out to the Rupununi Region 9, and of course, Majority Leader David Granger and several other members of Parliament will be dispatched to Region 9 as of tomorrow morning. And of course, that doesn't deprive the rest of the team. Let me just quickly go through the list so you will be informed of the activities happening over this weekend. But as I mentioned earlier today, Section K, Campbellville, walkabout, meeting residents in that area was conducted. Of course, I mentioned Region 9, which will commence as of tomorrow. Saturday the 17th at 3 p.m. in the village of Kurukururu on the East Bank Highway. There's a walkabout scheduled for your community, so look out for the team. That is Kurukuru at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. And of course, following that walkabout exercise, it will culminate with a public meeting, which will be a community meeting, which will be at the Kurukururu Primary School. And of course, among the list of speakers at that meeting will include Cheryl Sampson, who is the chairman of the National Congress of Women, Attorney at Law James Bond, and of course, Member of Parliament Mr. Ernest Elliott. So that is for the Kurukururu area. 3 o'clock, they commence a walkabout exercise, and of course, at 5 p.m., there will be a community meeting, of which Ms. Cheryl Sampson, the national chairperson of the National Congress of Women, which is the women's arm of the People's National Congress Reform, Attorney at Law, Member of Parliament James Bond, and of course Mr. Ernest Elliott will be the speakers at that meeting. On Sunday, the team, another team moves to IFLOT, and that of course is in Region 3. So IFLOT on Sunday, the 18th at 4 p.m. The team will be assembling in New York community to do a walkabout. And of course, several members of Parliament will be part of that exercise, inclusive of Mr. John Adams, who is the regional MP responsible for Region 3, James Bond, Patricia Chase Green, which is the deputy mayor of the city of Georgetown, Ms. Shondell Hope, which is a regional councillor for Region 4, Ms. Desiree Liverpool, who is an activist in the Meadowbrook area. And of course, there is Comrade Mark Walks will be part of that team, and of course, Dr. Karen Cummins, who is the newest member of Parliament. Also, a list of persons will be in that community. So again, IFLOT on Sunday, the 18th at 4 p.m. There's a walkabout exercise, and the list of persons that I mentioned before will be part of the delegation in your community. And of course, the contact person or the person who's responsible for coordinating that exercise is Ms. Cheryl Sampson, who is the chairperson of the National Congress of Women. On Monday, January the 19th, there's a walkabout in Burma, and that is, of course, in region number 5. And of course, among the list of persons who will be part of that exercise include a member of Parliament, Ms. Jennifer Wade, Mr. Cecil Wolf, which is one of the party activists in that community, among other persons, will be part of that walkabout exercise. And of course, on Wednesday, the team will be in Zeeland, which is in Mahaika. So Zeeland, Mahaika, on Wednesday the 21st, 4 p.m., a team will be dispatched to that community, inclusive of Member of Parliament, Mr. Ronald Bulkan, Ms. Carol Joseph, who is a regional councillor from Region Number 5, Member of Parliament Ms. Jennifer Wade, among several other persons who will be in that community on Wednesday. So the list continues, of course, and then we stretch right into Thursday, the 22nd at 4 p.m. Number 2 Village, West Coast Babis. A walkabout exercise will be conducted there on Thursday, the 22nd, 4 p.m. And of course, among the persons listed to be part of that walkabout exercise, inclusive of Patricia Chase Green, Deputy Mayor of the City of Georgetown, Miss Annette Ferguson, Member of Parliament, Miss Valda Lawrence, Member of Parliament, who is also the Chairman of the Georgetown District of the PNCR, yours truly, former Commissioner of Police, Mr. Winston Felix, Party APNU Chief Whip, Miss Amna Ali, and of course, Member of Parliament, Miss Jennifer Wade. That is a list of persons who will be comprising the team for the walkabout exercise, which will be conducted in Number 2 Village, West Coast Babis, and of course, this will be on Thursday, the 22nd at 4 p.m. So the APNU exercise continues, and of course, for those here in Georgetown, on Friday the 23rd, which is next Friday, there will be a public meeting, a huge, large public meeting at the Stabrook Market Square, and of course, none other than Majority Leader David Granger will be making his presentation there at the Stabrook Market next Friday on the 23rd. But of course, quick early an update, tomorrow Friday, the 16th of January at the Stabrook Market Square, tomorrow evening, commence at 6 p.m. a public meeting, and of course an invitation is hereby extended to members of the public to be part of that exercise, and of course all of the other listed before. You know that all of this is in keeping with the lead up to general and regional elections, which are expected anytime soon. And of course, the Partnership for National Unity has been conducting these exercises for the past 2-3 years. So this is nothing new, but it's a continuation. And of course, we want to say that the momentum have somewhat turned up. We have turned up that momentum. But what we want to do here quickly, we're going to ask the operators to put these numbers up on the screen. Noting the importance of preparation for general and regional elections, myself and Annette Ferguson have now opened several lines of which we want to invite persons out there who are interested in volunteering their service in any area, whether it be to be part of the walkabout exercise, whether it be part of just sitting in an office and answering the telephone, whatever the case be. But we are calling on volunteers. The operators will put the numbers up on the screen, 697-8545, or of course 602-8108. Those two numbers, you will reach myself and Annette Ferguson directly, and of course, if not, you can probably contact the APNU on Hatfield Street on 231-5644, or you can reach Congress Place, Sophia on 225-7852-5. Volunteers, persons who want to make donation as well, you can make contact with us directly, 697-8545 or 602-8108. And of course, before the duration of this program, we will put the numbers up on the screen, so thereafter you will be able to retain same. Annette Ferguson.
Well, Chris, you have said a lot, and you know what is high in the air at the moment is the whole prorogation of the National Assembly, and we would have noticed that recent calls have been made by the British High Commissioner of UK, Mr. Andrew Eyre, who would have said to this nation, to the government, that it is time for the Parliament to reconvene, or you either go to regional or general elections.
Yeah.
But we would have seen coming out, or after that pronouncement by the High Commissioner, you had statements coming from the PPPC General Secretary, Mr. Clement Rohi, none other than Clement Rohi. You had statements coming out from the minister who has responsibility of foreign affairs of this nation. But Chris, we know exactly how the PPP operate. Whenever the PPP is being opposed of, be it a wrongdoing or something they would have said that is not taken lightly, you know, they get on the defensive side. And we would have seen clearly the comments that were made by these sitting officials, you know, leaders who we expect to at least, you know, emulate something from. But, to make these slander
Big
rain
blunders.
remarks, it says a lot, not only for those public officials, but for the nation at large, because now the nation is being put on a spotlight, and people around the world would look at us in a different light because of what our leaders continue to say. If a wrong is being done, and you have other nations coming out, speaking out against it, because, mind you, I think Guyanese have remained silent. I mean, for the exception of the opposition parties, that would have been making constant pronouncement on this whole prorogation of our National Assembly, because the representatives, your representatives, our voices have been shut out, and Guyanese, I think you have remained silent for too long. So we continue to see is that these international bodies, they are now picking up the slack. They're now picking up the slack when we, as Guyanese, supposed to be, voicing our concerns. Let it known publicly that, look, what the Donald Ramotar administration continues to do is totally wrong. Article 9 of our Constitution, Chris, speaks directly about sovereignty to the people. The PPP continue to boast about democracy returning after 1992. But as Guyanese, we have to do a thorough analysis of that. Whether indeed democracy has returned after 1992. Because Donald Ramotar has been sitting in the seat as president of this nation for the last 3 years. And what have we seen as Guyanese is that our democracy is going downhill. Our rights as people of this nation, our rights are being violated by a government which speaks about democracy, a government which speaks about being a caring government, amongst other things. So, the UK has spoken. The US ambassador has spoken, because we must not forget what transpired on July 4th, 2014, at the former ambassador's residence, when a sitting government minister, Priya Manik Chan, her attitude towards that ambassador was uncalled for. Why? Because these people are seeing the wrongs committed by this government, and because of these people believing in democracy, they believe in democracy, because what is being played out in Ghana would never play out in UK. It would never play out in the United States of America, and even our sister CARICOM countries. We don't see these things being played out. But Guyana, something is definitely wrong. Chris, something is definitely wrong. Why is it that we continue to condone all these wrongs and we remain silent? The churches spoke. The trade union bodies, they spoke. You had the Bar Association. They too voiced their concern. But what? This government ain't budging. They're not budging. So, Guyanese, it is time we get ourselves and our homes in order. It is time we come together. And I continue to preach what our motto says. We are one people. We are one nation with one destiny. So for too long, we have allowed the PPPC government Under the former president, Bala Jagdeo, we have seen many atrocities. And it continues. And mind you, in the 2011 elections, when we had the campaign, you know what was one of their team, the PPPC's team? Continuity. So we're living to see exactly what was played out then under the Barrett Jagdeo regime. It is now being relived. So my Guyanese brothers and sisters, the time has come for us or for you to advance to that call. And what is that call? Unity. Unity, because we're not going anywhere. If we don't come together, we would continue to remain in the same position we are. So the time has come for you to answer to the APNU call. A united front in order for us to get rid of this wicked government. In order for us to see a new Guyana, a one nation, not a green nation, a red nation, or a yellow nation. No, when God created Guyana, He never created a three nation in Guyana. He created one nation. So I trust that you will add your voices to our call to say to the Donald Ramotar, who is administration or the president, who has the responsibility of setting that date for us to go to the elections, or to reconvene parliament. But comrades, they wouldn't do the latter. So we have to fight, and we have to make our pronouncement known that we need regional and general elections to carry this country forward so that a new government can be formed. Christopher, I think I've spoken a lot.
I'm actually tempted to say amen. I'm tempted to say, no, but I'm tempted to say, but well spoken, because, I mean, Annette, basically what you've just done is chronicle all of what we've been going through for 22 years under the administration. And rightfully so too. We would have mentioned over years, all of the political parties, even some section of civil society and so forth, that there are several things in Guyana that is going awry. Corruption is rampant and so forth. But as clearly articulated by the British High Commissioner, when the Foreign Affairs Minister sought to respond to his press pronouncement, is that anytime you say anything or you highlight a situation in this country that this government is responsible for, the first thing they sought to do is discredit you, embarrass you, humiliate, and all of that. Last week, on the last program that we had, we made mention of several persons who felt the wrath of this government, persons who were in the bosom of the People's Progressive Party Civic. One such person is the last Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Ralph Ramkaran. Came in the bosom, as I mentioned before. His father is one of the founding members of the People's Progressive Party Civic. That being said, he literally born and bred and grew up in the PPP, worked all his way until becoming Speaker and so forth. But the minute that he spoke out against what he saw was injustice happening in this country by this administration, immediately you saw what they did to him. You saw what they did to him on NCN and Gina. They brought some information out of Jamaica about some land that he tried and co-op with somebody to deprive some persons of money and so forth. You saw what they did to the goodly gentleman, God rest his soul, Mr. Do Not Sing, the man who we would have credited because of him. The People's Progressive Party Civic went back in office. When Janet Jagan was sworn in as president. We saw the man tell her that was good when she threw the court order over her shoulder. When you think that somebody like this will be held in high esteem by this government. The instant when he resigned, he couldn't get his pension.
No way.
And the same government, I mean, he was so nice, same government. Need I mention about Moses Nagamutu?
Oh, Lord.
Need I mention Kemraj Ramjatan? The list goes on. You know, this is how this government operates. But I can't say what has hit the fan, but it has hit the fan. And not only locally, us here in Guyana, speaking about what is happening here, but the international community is well aware. The diplomatic community is well aware. Last year, you saw the ambassador of the United States. He made his pronouncement point blank and clear. And anyone who lives in this country would say that he was on point.
Exactly.
Similarly, the British High Commission and the British government, when they made a pronouncement last Saturday, you should note that last Saturday marked 2 months since the prorogation of Parliament. And British sent their release, and of course on Monday, the High Commissioner here in Guyana made his pronouncement. Immediately thereafter, the government would lash and slam. That's how they operate. Once you speak out. But the thing is, you cannot hide it.
No way.
Guyana is in a report which shows that Guyana is one of the most corrupt country in the English-speaking Caribbean. Every day you read stories coming out of Guyana with cocaine coming from these shores. We found a submarine that was transporting drugs in this country. You got ministers of government spending $4.5 billion without the consent of the National Assembly and remains in office. You have an attorney general who can, on the telephone, tell a reporter at the newspapers that, look, persons don't have a newspaper's weapon. They have real weapons. And if you continue to print what you're printing, these people will walk in your newspaper and Peter go pay for Paul and Paul go pay for all. Sometime shortly thereafter, we saw what happened in Paris, France the other day. And it is exactly what our Attorney General was speaking about could happen at Kaichor News here in Guyana. And the same said thing happened there in France. And you know, this same said government denounced what happened in Paris, France. They denounced what happened in Paris, France.
Exactly.
But at the same time, their very own Attorney General here in Guyana is saying that the same thing is going to happen to Kaichor News down there. And when you speak to the government, when you speak to the president has the audacity to say to this nation that, look, you are taking what he said out of context. And this is what upsets me over time with this government. This government is of the opinion that every man, woman, and child in this country are dumb and docile. They lack basic common sense. So whatever is being played out, it is not true. It's an illusion. So the Roger Luncheons, the now Minister of Foreign Affairs, Borket. Let me point with something with Caroline Rajix Borket. At one time, she was viewed, in my personal opinion, she was viewed as the last beacon light of hope in the PPP. That I viewed her as Minister of Foreign Affairs as one person who don't get herself involved with this government and their nonsense. Last Monday or Tuesday was it? When I saw that statement from, it removed everything that I had. And as I mentioned before, unkind and all. And that's what I said. She was the last beacon light of hope in the PPP, of one minister of government who don't get herself involved in all of the nonsense. Now she gonna entrench herself in the same stupidness. You know? Look, the writing is on the wall. The People's Progressive Party, Civic, has lost all grounds. They've lost in the Amerindian communities. We saw what happened in Aishalton. The president himself, His Excellency President Donald Ramatar, instructed the presidential guards to slap him. That's the president, you know. You talk about democracy and freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And here it is that the president, the head of state of this country, speaking. And because you are a citizen and you have your own grievances, you cannot express it there. The president will instruct the presidential guard to slap you. And then worse, he will tell you you're stupid. That's the president. And that is why if you juxtapose all of the statement, pronouncement, and behavior of ministers of this government over the past years, and always wondering to yourself, well, why is it this president isn't doing anything? he can't do nothing because
No
he
way.
just like them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, birds of a feather
Feather
flock
flock
together.
together.
How could he tell somebody that you wrong when you doing the same thing? And that is the state of play that we have in this country.
Yeah. You know, Chris, you said earlier that the PPP, you know, they have lost their groundings. But that is a fact because as we go out into the communities and you interact with the ordinary man and woman on the ground, you even have people calling you on your phone.
Exactly.
Man, here, when you are setting this date, people are anxiously awaiting for that date to be set.
Yep.
But you know, you gotta make it clear to them. It's not the opposition is responsible for naming the date for,
That's right.
for the elections.
That's right.
It is the responsibility of the president. But Chris, let me tell you something. You know, the people really want to see the back of the PPPC government.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. All right. As we mentioned before, viewers, we're gonna open the phone lines to hear from you.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello?
Yes. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Your program is very much interesting.
Thank you.
What to be noticed about this administration is that they are hiding behind women. First time, it was Priya Manichan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's Pocket. Now, what to be noticed is that they are running helter-skelter. They're running behind women. They are sheltering.
That's
They
right.
have nowhere to run, though.
That's right.
This election, they have nowhere to run, buddy. People is not done. They're stupid. People, you know, in 1992, this whole country was saying, we need a change. Let us ask ourselves the set question. Don't we need a change?
That's right.
We need a change more than 92. You know why? Compared from 92 to now, the amount of people that die.
That's right.
The table, let us say,
Mm-hmm.
under the table
Mm-hmm.
is a law. It's a law. This administration cannot, they cannot protect the citizens. They have no vision. They have no love for ordinary Guyanese. All the love they have is for the friends and the cronies. Let's get our election. Out they go.
Very well.
And I trust you will support APNU. Hello?
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. That's all. All right. The phone lines are still open, and of course the number is up on the screen: 223-519. Good evening. Hello.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
evening.
I think I should talk less and shut this country down. Hold on. I'm her husband,
Uh-huh.
and I would like to contribute something.
Go ahead, sir.
Now, if this regime shut the nation right down, will shut them out from getting the privilege to hear it, right? We think we should come out in the street and put a pressure upon them so that they would understand that do so, not like so. You understand me?
Yeah.
And again, indeed, Guyana developed, right? But in the wrong way, because they need to look at the nation, you understand me? Survival package, you understand me? So that they could get the support from the nation to develop our country by exporting, not importing. You understand? Because we have a lot of resources.
Yeah.
And if you do not give us a survival package, you wouldn't get the cooperation.
That's right.
You understand me?
That's right.
So, my brothers, I feel that, we should do less talking and more action by coming out in the streets. In a decent way,
Yeah.
not in a radical way.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
To put a pressure upon these people, because these people, they're demonic. they're serving darkness. They're serving God. You understand me?
Yes,
They're
sir.
for me, myself, and I. Not for the nation. They said they're the father for the nation. Eh? I don't know what's really going on. We need to unite and stand together. We will stand divided we
You
fall.
fall.
You understand me?
Yes, sir.
You have a blessed night.
You do,
You
sir.
too.
Thanks, our country. All right, we're gonna take as much calls as possible once no one's got it. All right, quickly. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello. Yes, good evening.
I just want to shed a point here.
Sure, just speak up for us, please.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to let you guys know this whole system that we have in Ghana needs to change.
Uh-huh.
Whereby the government runs the court, the government wants to run the parliament, and
Mhm.
they have everything in their hands. So whatever they say goes. And that's not right.
Mhm.
The Attorney General, he doesn't deserve that position he was. He's wasteless. You see, he went to court the other day and he said that the budget is in the budget. That is just a waste of time. And they really want to fool a lot of people because you know what, the pressure's on their back right now. So they're finding all sorts of excuses now because they do not want to call election.
That's right.
And that's the whole point to them. And this is the last thing they have right now. They're not going back in there. I don't know how they look at it or how people look at it. Guyanese are fed up of the stupidness that they're doing and the gimmicks that they're carrying out.
Very well.
We are all fed up.
Very
That's
well.
just my point.
Thanks, have a
Very
country.
much.
All right, we're going to take one last caller, then we're going to wrap up the program. The operators are already signaling the time is up here. All right, got one there. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, good night.
Good night,
Good
sir.
evening.
Hello, good night.
Good evening.
I would just like to say that we could make a better change in this country if we really work together.
That's right.
I would really like us to think about where we would carry this country forward in the future and how we would get there.
Very well.
I would just like to say if the 11 people in this country don't rise up and fight, I'm going to tell you, you're going to take all those dead people that caller called earlier up and spoke about, those same dead people are going to rise up and fight on our behalf. That's my contribution.
Thanks,
Thank
have a
you.
country. All right, that's the four or five calls for the night. On it, wrapping up. All right, operators.
Bear with us.
One last call. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to say that I'm enjoying the program and Annette and Chris just keep doing the good work so that you guys can make a better tomorrow for our children.
Thank you very
Excellent.
much.
Very much.
Well,
You're welcome.
thanks, have a country. Excellent note to exit on. But indeed, okay, the callers quickly. One person's the second to last caller, I think it was the third to last caller, what it was, spoke about the system needed to be changed. But in fact, what we have, there is actually a separation of power.
Power.
But indeed, because of this administration that we have, the dictatorial tendency, which of course now with the prorogation of parliament, you see it's clearly dictatorship
Yeah.
of them. That is why we never really seen the actual separation of power in terms of the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive, and so forth. And of course, that's what we were fighting about. One of the caller mentioned about development in Ghana, and indeed, no one will run from that. But there is also what you can dub as jobless growth, for example. Huge buildings going up and all of this. It looks nice on photograph and magazines and in the newspapers. But the reality is that when you look at the bulk of your people, they're not being employed.
Employed,
And then,
so
of course,
true.
the ones that are employed, in terms of their salaries and so forth, what they have to fight for, 5% increase, take, for example,
GGMC.
GGMC, that is currently still out there. So, but of course, note, the Partnership for National Unity is the solution to the problem.
So true.
Is
So,
that
so true.
not saying that because we are activists of APNU, but the fact of the matter is the name, a partnership for national unity. It is what we're calling for all of the time. Is
Exactly.
we may mention that several ways living in Ghana, we're looking for unity and strength and so forth. And the only way you can get development and actual unity is that you have to come together, and hence a partnership for national unity. Quickly before Annette wraps up, received some information again tonight. I made mention about this sometime last year about a vehicle that went around, is going around the city in various parts of the country. Well, various parts. There's an individual identified as Mike John Doe. Recently in Prashad Nagar, I think about 3 or 4 days ago, a vehicle was intercepted in Prashad Nagar bearing number plate PPP5. Men inside of the vehicle is heavily tinted, wearing bulletproof vests and have ammunition inside of this vehicle. This was the police intercepted this vehicle. They contacted their senior officer somewhere in Brickdown Police Station. And of course, when that officer attempted to get information about these individuals, he received instruction that he should let the vehicle go. This is the second occasion that I'm getting the report. And of course, it was mentioned that this individual or group of individuals are continuing going around there. Now, what is important to note is that the person identified the vehicle number as PP5, and it's a gray Toyota Ram. And of course, there is another vehicle that operates around the office of the president that also bears that same number plate, PPP5. And of course, the Partnership of National Unity, we are investigating this, and of course, as we go ahead, we will bring you updates as relates to that. Annette, and then I'll just give you a quick roundup.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. Is just to sum up what the callers would have said. Indeed, we all know about the issues, and as you rightfully said, that and I want to endorse what you said, that the APNU is the solution. So I trust, and I would like to make a public appeal to all people. Yes, we're all Guyanese are crying for change. The only way we can have that change is that you and I, we have a civic responsibility. And what is our civic responsibility? To ensure that we pick up our ID card if we haven't done so. If you have registered but you haven't yet picked up your ID card, please do so. The other thing, check to ensure that your name is on the list. So when election date is announced, you are ready. You are ready, and you are ready to throw your full support behind a partnership for national unity, because we do have the solution to all the problems, all the social problems that we face on a daily basis in this nation. Thank you.
All right, and on that note, we always can thank you for viewing tonight's program. We note that the phone lines is still going. Several persons are still trying to get through. So as of tonight, the phone lines will continue to open from next week,
Yes.
Thursday. So note that, keep all of your comments and questions that you have. As of next week, Thursday, the phone lines for this program will continue to be open, so we will be able to hear from you. A quick reminder, tomorrow evening, outside the Stabroek Market Square, public meeting, 6 p.m. And of course, we extend an invitation to you to be part of it. 697-8545, that is my number, and of course you can reach Annette Ferguson on 602-8108. We are calling for persons to volunteer. For persons out there who want to donate to the campaign, and of course as we move swiftly into general and regional elections, the important thing is funding, and of course the human element, which is critical persons to actually assist in the campaign. More campaign, mobilize, organize, register, and educate. On behalf of my colleague Annette Ferguson, we look forward to seeing you again next Thursday, and of course tomorrow at the public meeting at the Stabroek Market Square. Until then,
Good night.
goodbye.